This has been everywhere. Everybody, all of the big music channels on YouTube have been talking about these guys, and I don't know anything about them. I've seen them like be compared to the likes of like Primus and King Crimson, and I enjoy both Primus and King Crimson a decent bit. So I'm going into this with fairly high expectations. I'm expecting this to be pretty cool. And yeah, everybody's been talking about this shit. It has been all over. Like, all of the bigger music channels have been talking about these guys. Rick Beato was talking about them. A lot of like the more specific instrument musician-based music channels have been talking about them. Fucking Justin Hawkins talking about. Everybody is talking about these motherfuckers. So I'm gonna put my hat in the ring, and I'm gonna have my turn to talk about them. Listening to the whole damn album. Came out. When did this come out? Came out the other day, 3 days ago. 6 tracks, 37 minutes. They do the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard microtonal stuff. I hate to break it to you, microtonality was not invented by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. It was. It's not exclusive to them. It was invented by the Beatles, exactly, as is everything. Anyway, I'm not even gonna try with these song titles, dude. No lyrics. Okay. They're French Canadian. French. They were inspired by Flying Microtonal Banana, huh? Interesting. That's a good album. Flying Microtonal Banana is a very good album. I don't know where 1 is, so I don't know how to... Okay, now we're in 4. It felt like we might have been in 15, 16 in that last section. I might be wrong. I couldn't tell where 1 was, so I was struggling to count. KXP performance gave great numbers, I see. Honestly, immediately I can kind of see the Primus. In this riffing, like the guitar tone and this bass line, it does feel very Primus. It kind of has that slightly dirty southern feeling, but it's still also very silly as well. French Canadian? I'm so sorry. Hope you start looking up these. I'm joking. I'm joking. Oh, really? That's hype as fuck. Yeah, this already has about double the amount of ratings as their first album did on Album of the Year. And that first album doesn't have any critic reviews, and this one has 7. I will say, I'm not loving this. This is cool. It's fun. It's goofy. Where's your album in the queue? Your album is... Let's see. We've got this. We've got 2 paid songs. Sorry, 3 paid songs, and then it's your album. Okay. That was fun. Yeah, some nice, very dirty southern riffing, chunky bass lines, kind of bringing over that Primus silliness as well as... immediately I can see both the Primus and King Crimson comparisons in the technicality of the riffing, but also in just how goofy and no holds barred the approach to this is. I would give this a high 7. I don't love this. This isn't the type of thing I'd come back to necessarily. I feel like it could maybe be heavier. I feel like it could maybe be a little bit more fleshed out in, you know, its actual structure. It feels like some of the sections of this song go on a little bit too long. It feels like this track could have definitely been a little bit more adventurous in terms of having different sections brought in, having different ideas brought in. But as is, that was just a very fun, very silly experience that I enjoyed a decent bit. Just not a song I'd necessarily see myself coming back to. We continue. I'm not trying with these song titles, by the way. I'm not even, like, I'm just not embarrassing myself. We got a lyric card for this one. They played this one at KXP. Oh shit. Okay, I was talking about how not everything that's, related to microtonal rock is King Gizzard. That riff in the back is genuinely very, like, flying microtonal banana era King Gizzard. I can see it. Exactly. Fly Microtonal Banana is the only microtonal album that will be released for this, yeah. When known as Big Brown Gizzard, exactly. They use a different word for microtonal music when, like, defining the genre, don't they? Yeah, Anatolian rock. Yeah, look at this. Uses highest rated Anatolian rock secondaries. It's King Gizzard, Angine de Poitrine, King Gizzard, and King Gizzard. Like, look at this shit, bro. I kind of feel similarly about this track as I did with the last one. It felt like it could have been more adventurous so far, maybe, but it's still been very fun. Like, the ideas being presented here are legitimately pretty exciting consistently. You know, there's a level of technical proficiency and also just actual competent musicianship on display here. Like, the chemistry is there. The production is there. The actual songwriting and ability to craft a track is there. I'm being very generous even though it's about French Canadian, I know. I do enjoy the actual parts that are being played, yeah. It feels like... I'll explain what I mean at the end of the track. Whoa. Okay, I fucking broke title by pausing at the end. Yeah, I think a lot of my opinion on this is coming from the fact that I feel like this band can do this, but even better. I can tell that there is an ability for them to expand upon this even further than what they've done here. I've not heard their first album. I don't know how much of a progression this is from their first album moving into the second. But I can tell they have the chops to be able to take this even further, to make this even more technical, to make this even more fascinating in its structure, to make it even more lively and colorful and insane and weird. And I think that is kind of the main thing that in my head is making me not absolutely love this, is that I'm seeing a lot of what's going on in these songs. I'm like, there's a better version of this that I know they can make, and I imagine they will make, further down the line. They've been doing this since they were teenagers. Damn. Yeah, it's still like a solid 7 for me. I think the more, I guess, driving energy of this track, the fact that it's a little heavier, it's a little more blaring, there's much more of a sense of forward aggression on this song. That does provide for a little bit more of, I guess, a sense of intrigue and a little bit more investment for me throughout this song. But I also feel like this track suffers from the same problems as the last song, where I just kind of feel like certain sections drag on a bit too much. I feel like that it could be expanded on a little bit. Don't get me wrong, these songs are still good. I still think both of these tracks are solid as hell, but I know that this can be expanded upon, and I know that this can be even more insane. I know this can be even weirder, and I think that there is an even better version of this album that could exist. So while I'm liking this, I'm not loving it so far. This is the song they played that got them a lot of attention. Okay. It's missing me on oboe, is that what I'm trying to say? Well, I don't know how to play the oboe, but sure. Get me in there, put me on the oboe. Maybe put me on some banjo as well, which I also don't know how to play. You're French Canadian and a furry, so you're literally the punching bag for the entire internet. That constitutes a permaban, I'm afraid. Playing in those costumes must legitimately suck, yeah. Look at that shit, bro. Like the nose coming off. This one doesn't look the worst, but this. Self-funded the costume. Zolo? I've heard that genre term before. Yeah, quirky, high energy, 70s and 80s art pop that merges new wave immediately with prog rock. Like, yeah. We've had some Zolo stuff on here before, I'm pretty sure. Indeed. Okay. Cool. This is the least interesting of the bunch so far for me. I guess it's got a cool triplet thing that kind of is the anchor throughout the track. I like that this song kind of has that one through line that kind of holds everything in place. I think that the riffing is still great. I think that the performances are still on point here, but this track in particular just kind of feels like a little directionless. I like this, but I'm not in love with it. I'm feeling a high 6 on this. It's okay. It's still a solid track, but again, I'm just a little disappointed because I feel like there could be more to this. There could be a lot more to this. The dynamics are also very stagnant. I agree. That's actually a pretty good point. The tracks don't feel like they really have much of a range in energy. It feels like they just kind of pick one specific energy and it just stays that way the entire way throughout. I'm a little disappointed. I was expecting this to be more exciting than it is. Again, I am liking this, but I expected to absolutely love this based on the praise it's gotten, based on, people saying it's like, it's a modern day Primus. It's the weirdest shit out there. It's the coolest, most creative, technical shit out there. And then I'm like, yeah, this is technical and fun, and it definitely does carry over some of the, stupidness of some bands like that. I feel like it is a little bit watered down in every aspect. Not a lot, but a little bit. In everything it's trying to go for, it feels a little bit watered down from other bands that I've seen tackle these things. Like the microtonality isn't quite as interesting as some other bands. The weird, dirty southern shit isn't quite as good as some other bands. The technicality isn't quite as technical as some other bands. It feels like a good attempt at a lot of these things, but not a great attempt that's like reinventing the wheel or anything like that. It's just like, yeah, this is a solid execution of a lot of these ideas, but not one that I would pick over a lot of other stuff I've heard. Like, how the fuck do I say that? Uts P. Okay. Or Uts P. Thank you for the thumbs up, dear Shubin. I can't ever let Pitchfork be more appreciative of music than me. like flash game music, yeah. Bad Piggy's ass melody. Reminds you of a System of a Down track. That bass tone, holy shit. Oops. Oh shit. Some of this riffing reminds me a little bit of that Psychedelic Porn Crumpets album last year. Yeah, it's like a little bit less fuzzy, yeah. Psychedelic Porn Trumpets. If they were real shit, that's what they'd be called. Thank you, Morbid Seahorse. Jelly Roll. The worst rated single on album of the year so far this year. Can't wait to not want to kill myself for all while listening to that. Crumpets, crumpets. That was quite easily the best song so far. Solid 8. That was quite fantastic. That felt like that song had the variety and the crazy structure that the rest of these tracks have kind of demanded to pop in the way that they really, truly want to. That track felt like it had some of the craziest dynamics we've gotten up to this point. It felt like that song had some of the most actually fascinating ideas and was the most cohesive out of all of the songs so far as well. It felt like the through line of that song and the constant, just rapid kind of snowball effect the song almost had all the way throughout as it built and built and built, and then you kind of reach that little moment of silence, and then it kind of goes through the same motion but with a completely different section. That was very cool. Kind of reminded me a little bit of the energy of that Psychedelic Porn Krampus. That was specifically the first album they dropped last year, where that was a lot of like batshit insane, almost metal adjacent riffing. There were some moments in that track that felt pretty metal with the incorporation of some double kick at points, everything getting to a point of heaviness and riffing that felt like it was bordering on going into some metal territory. I thought that was very fun. Yeah, that was the most fun song so far. That was honestly the first example on this album of me being like, oh, that's what everyone sees in this. That's what everyone sees in this. You know, that's kind of that magic that everybody else has been getting out of this. Again, I've enjoyed this up to this point. Haven't loved the first 3 songs, but then that track, that was kind of what I've been looking for in this. Good shit. Yor Zarad. Probably saying that wrong. How's it going, Zarad? Started as Prog Poker, yeah. Most people would say otherwise when you look at the ratings. Most people are wrong. You got food poisoning? Rough. That is not good. Oh, shit. Was waiting for the Weird Owl feature, yeah. Okay. Let me explain what I think my problem with this has been so far. Okay, because this track has kind of made it click into place. I always talk about music where the artist kind of makes the same song over and over again, which some of my favorite artists and some of my least favorite artists tend to do that. Rage Against the Machine make the same song over and over again, but they're in my top 10 bands easily. I think the thing that either can make that work or not work is if you can differentiate the songs in your mind. I can't with this. All of these songs, besides that last track and the third song, actually, honestly, no, all of the songs besides that last track, including the first minute of this, are just a complete, like, blur to me. They all feel like the exact same. I think that's been my problem with this so far. It felt like, as an album experience so far, this hasn't done enough to have each track feel individual enough, where everything just kind of feels like one big gradient, instead of it being a selection of tracks, you know? Besides that last song I'd say is an exception to that. This Math Rock is gonna add up, true. I don't know, I don't even remember. Imagine developing a peanut allergy. Unlucky. One day you can eat Twix, the next you can. You're craving Lucasade. Developing a latex allergy. Imagine developing a cream egg allergy, bro. I'm about to eat some more of these motherfucking cream eggs. I've got 4 more of them in here. Amazing stuff. You would be allergic to your dominatrix. Okay. Fascinating. That sounds amazing, though. Maybe. I do wonder what my feelings towards this would be if it was like cut around, like the structure was rearranged a little bit, some sections were cut down, and the entire thing was combined into one big like 30-minute song or something like that. I would be curious as to what my experience with it would be like that. Chat Bros? W Streamlabs. W Streamlabs in 2026, I know. This guitar effect could have had more impact. I do appreciate that they're going for stuff. I feel like some of the execution on some of like the crazy effect stuff isn't the best. Like that guitar effect there with like the panning, that could have been so much louder, and that could have been so much wilder in its tonality, and it could have made this like ending section feel so much more futuristic and alien if they went just a little more balls to the walls with it. That felt like the first moment of the album that felt a little restrained. Like they were like, we want to have something cool here, but we don't want to make it too weird, you know? I'm feeling another high 6 on this. Solid. I think that the final minute or so of that track was absolutely fucking incredible. When it went into that super heavy ass just chugging section. I wouldn't necessarily call it chugging section, but it felt like a fucking train barreling through the track at the end there. That was great. I think that sounded fantastic. I think all of the individual parts of this song are solid, but it feels like at this point we're retreading ground to a degree where throughout the first 5 or so minutes of this track I was like, haven't we already had most of these ideas being presented already? Like this riff sounds like it's taken from an earlier song. Their rhythmic approach to this 7/8 time throughout a lot of the song feels kind of the same as one of the earlier songs as well. I just kind of found myself looking back to the previous tracks and being like, huh, it feels like we've kind of already done this. It's still solid though. Again, the execution is still great. The song still sounds good. Everything here is structurally and musically competent. It's just, I don't know. I wish these tracks had a little bit more distinction between them. Final song is Anger. They do that chromatic scale run way too much. Mid burp, mid burp. Okay, it's turning into truck music. American Truck Simulator 2, exactly. It seems to rely way too much on the staccato thing, a little bit, yeah. I mean, at least they're doing something polyrhythmic here to make it a little more interesting. Like this 2/3 polyrhythm does. 3/2. I don't know. I don't know which order you're supposed to say that in. This 2 and 3 polyrhythm is making it feel rhythmically a little more bumpy, which is kind of interesting. Okay. Is that actually what the guitarist is playing? A guitar and a bass as the same instrument? That's pretty cool. How the fuck do you do that? Oh, there's a loop pedal down here. I didn't notice. Well, I think it's a loop pedal. There's some pedals down here. I'm guessing one of them will be a loop pedal. Guitar pedals looping there. Yeah, it goes there. Okay, chat, I have a question. What's the difference between microtonality and atonality? Or are they the same thing? I'm a drummer, so I don't know these things, and I'm interested. Angor, honestly, solid closer. It started off being a little bit like, okay, we're kind of going through the motions again. You know, it's just kind of another track on the album. But as it progressed, it got a little heavier. It allowed that kind of looping 3/2 section to develop a little bit. It actually got quite interesting. Music that lacks a key. We're gonna Google this shit. What's the difference? Microtonality involves using intervals smaller than the standard semitone, e.g., quarter tones, focusing on new pitch subdivisions. Atonality refers to music lacking a tonal center or key, where all 12 chromatic notes are treated equally. Microtonality changes the notes available, while atonality changes how notes are organized. Okay. Rare AI overview W actually telling me what I need to know. You know, instead of giving me some other bullshit that isn't relevant at all like it normally does. Solid closer, feeling a solid 7 on that. Fun track. Started off a little bit feeling like we were retreading some ground, but as it allowed that 2/3 polyrhythm section to progress, as we switched, we had that crazy switch up out of the polyrhythm into a straight 4/4 that slowly progressed into double time as well. Like, that progression was absolutely insane, the way it just ripped you out of one section and then pushed you right back into it completely unexpectedly. I think that spontaneity throughout this track did keep it very exciting. And also just the actual way that when it went back into the more staccato polyrhythmic section, the way it let it progress, the way it let it feel even more foreign and alien in its riffing throughout as well was pretty cool. And it kind of built to a very satisfying conclusion for me. Even if it wasn't the most satisfying by the end, even if I think it could have maybe, I don't know, built to something a little more grand or maybe something a little more musically complex, I still found it to be very satisfying regardless. So yeah, solid 8. Solid 7, sorry. This is a good album. This is a good album. I didn't love it, but I definitely found myself enjoying this a good bit. I think that this is a fun dive into some microtonal rock, into some math rock, into some progressive rock, bringing in influences from anywhere from the likes of Primus to King Crimson to more recent acts like King Gizzard and Psychedelic Porn Crumpets to create an atmosphere that is very weird, very silly, can be quite southern and dirty at points as well, but still for the most part is able to be quite musically interesting. Now, the reason I didn't quite love this album was because I feel like there could be an even better version of this than what we got. I think the one song on this album that I did love, Utsp, was hype as fuck. That felt like the band fully realizing their ideas and creating a track that's sprawling, wild, bouncing between a bunch of different sections in a way that still feels cohesive, in a way that is able to be musically satisfying while still being strange, batshit, and out there. And, you know, for someone like me who pays attention to things like song structure and rhythmic elements and time signatures were still able to scratch those itches in my brain. And the rest of the songs attempt to do that, but they feel a little too restrained, like they aren't able to fully spread their wings. And while I did enjoy all of the songs on this album, it felt like the majority of them, particularly tracks 5 and track 3, just felt a little bit too confined, felt a little bit too uniform to be able to fully express themselves and fully explore the sonic environments that they create. It felt like the structures of those tracks were just a little bit too repetitive. It felt like a lot of the musical ideas didn't get to progress into anything bigger than what they started as for the most part. Like, they do go through a little bit of progression. They do build up tensity at points, but not in a way that feels like they come to satisfying conclusions or like they're able to fully reach their peaks. I like those songs still. I think that the parts are incredible. I think that the production on this album slaps. There is a rawness to everything here that makes everything feel a little bit alien, that makes everything feel a little bit futuristic as well in some of the effects that are brought in. I think that the way that the band are able to play off of each other is also pretty incredible throughout. The chemistry here is absolutely on point. They are incredible musicians, but I feel like maybe with another album they'd be able to lock in on having these songs feel fully satisfying and fully holistic in terms of letting their sections progress and in terms of bringing ideas to the table that are a little more unique. There are a handful of tracks on here that really do just blend together for me, that sound like they're repeating the same ideas, texturally and dynamically feel basically the exact same to me. And I can guarantee, if you ask me tomorrow, if you play a section from, I don't know, say track 5, I could confuse it with track 1 or 2. That's the thing with bands like this that kind of make a lot of songs that sound similar. You have to be able to have a distinct view of which song's which. You have to be able to, separate them in your mind, and for a lot of these tracks I just kind of can't. Still, I know I'm harping a lot on the negatives. This is still a good album. I would still give this album a 7.4 out of 10. I think that this is a strong release. I think this is a solid, fun listen, but it's just a little disappointing because of how much praise I've seen being poured over this thing, how much people are saying it's like, the new fucking Primus, it's the new weirdest band out there. You're gonna absolutely love how technical and how masterful the musicianship is and how great the songs on here are. And it just being like, yeah, they're doing a good job here, but it feels like they could lock in on this and push this sound even further on a new release, in my opinion. 7.4, good album.